Today, we're going to be taking a look at the Copper Golem along with everything you need to know about the brand new Copper Age Drop in Minecraft. Heyo, I'm Creato, and the Copper Golem is a brand new mob in the Copper Age Drop. But not just any mob, since the Copper Golem is the first golem mob added in a really long time, which means that it doesn't naturally spawn anywhere in your world. And in order to get a Copper Golem, you'll need to build it yourself, which you can easily do by placing a copper block with a carved pumpkin above. And you'll notice right away that you also get a new copper chest when the golem is built, but we'll get into the copper chest a little bit later. And keep in mind that a copper golem can only be built with regular copper blocks. This means that it won't work with chiseled or cut copper blocks, but you can use either a waxed or unwaxed copper block, along with a copper block of any oxidation stage. And this is important because the copper block you use to build the copper golem will be the same oxidation level that the copper golem starts at, which means that if you use a fully oxidized copper block to make the copper golem, then it will also be fully oxidized when it spawns. But I recommend just using a regular copper block, since the copper golem is already able to naturally oxidize on its own, just like a normal copper block. Though this process does take a really long time, which is about 7 real hours or 22 in-game days of waiting around to fully oxidize. But once your copper golem finally reaches the final oxidation level, then it will only take around 9 more seconds for it to turn into a statue. And this statue kind of works like a normal block, since you can mine it and carry it around in your inventory and then place it back down wherever you want. And the statue itself doesn't really serve any practical purpose other than for decorating, since you can click on it with an empty hand and swap between 4 different poses. Pretty cool, right? And these poses don't do much in terms of mechanics, but they do look pretty great in copper-themed builds, if I had to say. And once you're done swapping through all the poses, you can actually bring the copper golem back to life. Well, if you choose to, of course, because all you need to do is just use an axe, and it will remove 1 oxidation stage each time until its eyes light up. And if you don't want your copper golem to oxidize anymore, then you can also wax it with honeycomb, which will prevent it from oxidizing any further. And you can do this at any oxidation level, which will keep the copper golem in the same oxidation stage forever, unless you change it yourself with an axe, of course. And in case you're wondering, there really is no difference between any of the oxidation levels for the copper golem, since they can all walk and move around at the same speed without any differences in behavior, no matter what stage of oxidation they're at. Alright, now remember that copper chest you got when you made the copper golem? Well, you should keep it around since the copper golem is able to interact with both copper chests and regular chests. And in case you want another copper chest, then you can always craft one with 8 copper ingots around a chest in a crafting table. But the copper chest is very important to copper golems, since they can take items from a copper chest and then put them into any regular chest with matching items in it that's less than 32 blocks away. And this means that a copper golem is able to sort your items completely on its own. But just keep in mind that a copper golem can only take items from a copper chest and not a regular chest. And it can also only put items into a regular chest and not a copper chest. And if the copper golem isn't able to find a chest that has the same item it took from the copper chest, then it will just keep looking through chests until it finds one with an item matching what it's holding, which can put the copper golem in an endless loop if there are never matching items in any of the chests. But you can easily help it out by just placing a matching item in any of the chests for the copper golem to find, or by also removing the item from the copper golem and letting it pick a different item from the copper chest. But if the copper golem finds an empty chest first, then it will just place the items there if it can't find anywhere else for them to go. And the copper golem can also hold items of any stack size, but will only carry 16 items at a time, which means that for items that stack to 64 like cobblestone and sticks, it will take the copper golem 4 trips to move the entire stack. But for items that stack to 16 like eggs and snowballs, then the copper golem can just take the entire stack at once. And for unstackable items, the copper golem can only carry 1 of them at a time. And this works for all items in the chest, since when a copper golem looks through a chest, it checks all the items to see if any match what it's currently holding, which means that you can have multiple types of items in a chest, and the copper golem will be able to sort them all with no struggle at all. This lets you sort your chests by groups of items so that the copper golem knows where each item belongs, which means you can have one chest for all your food items, another for blocks, and so on for the copper golem to pretty much use as filters. And just remember to put the items that you want to get sorted into the copper chest, since that's the only type of chest a copper golem can actually take items out of. And since the copper golem is doing all the sorting itself, that means you can have a fully automatic sorting system without needing any redstone, which is really simple to build since all it needs is a copper chest next to some regular chests along with blocks around so that the copper golem doesn't get out. But even if the golems can't get out their home, you still need to protect them from random lightning strikes, since if a copper golem gets struck, then the lightning will remove the wax from it, which you probably don't want if the copper golems are going to be sorting your items. But all you really need to do is place a lightning rod away from the copper golems to redirect all the lightning somewhere else. And also keep in mind that copper golems can be a bit sneaky, since they can also open all types of doors except for iron. So I recommend just placing glass blocks around the copper golems, because they still deserve to see the world even if they they can't get to it, especially since there's also tons of other copper-related items for you to craft, starting with a brand new tool set made from copper, since you can craft all the different tool types but now made from copper. And copper tools are better than stone tools but not as good as iron, which means you can use copper tools if you want, in case you rather save your iron for other items. And the mining speed and durability of copper tools also goes right between stone and iron, which makes it another option to choose from if that's what you need. And the copper tools also come along with a full set of copper armor, which is crafted with copper ingots in the same way as all the other armor types. And copper armor goes between leather and iron in terms of protection and durability, which makes it more of an early game armor set that you might want to use. And there aren't really any other properties for copper armor, other than the fact that it can be smelted down to make copper nuggets, which you can use to craft a brand new copper torch, which works exactly the same as a regular torch, but has a green flame on it. And besides the green color, there isn't anything different about a copper torch compared to a regular torch. But you can still take this copper torch and combine it with more copper nuggets to craft yourself a copper lantern, which once again is functionally the same as a regular lantern, but with the green flame color of copper. And the copper lantern looks really nice around other copper themed blocks, with it also giving the same light level as a regular lantern or torch. And there's still a few more blocks you can craft from copper, since there's also a new copper chain and bar variant, which work the same as their regular iron variant, but now with the whole copper theme to better match the rest of the block set. And all these new copper blocks can also oxidize, which means you can get them all in the 4 different oxidation levels and wax them if you want to keep them from oxidizing further. But even with all these new copper features, there's still one last feature in the copper age drop, and that's the shelves, which are a brand new block that let you store up to 3 stacks of items. And shelves can be crafted with 6 stripped logs out of any wood type you want, since shelves come in all the different wood variants for all the logs. And shelves can be placed on the side of a block, but don't really need to, since they can also be placed without a block behind them as well. And shelves work similar to item frames in a way, since you can put the items in a shelf and they will be displayed for you to see, which means that shelves don't have any sort of UI like chests or barrels, and instead rely on you interacting with the shelf by clicking on it. And even though you can't tell by looking, shelves can hold up to a stack of items in each of their 3 slots, and when you take the items out of a shelf, it will remove the entire stack of that item, which means that shelves can also work as a sort of mini storage, since each shelf can store 3 stacks of items max, and the amount of items that a shelf can store is the same as how much the items can stack. So if you try putting ender pearls, then the most you can have in a slot would be 16, since that's the stack limit for ender pearls. And if you fill up the shelf with unstackable items, then there will only be 3 items on the shelf. But shelves also have some unique behavior with redstone as well, since you can place 3 shelves in a row and then power them all with redstone, and then you can swap the items on your shelf into your hotbar. But make sure that each shelf is powered, since they don't work like redstone dust and won't power any shelves that are next to each other. And you can tell when a shelf is powered because you'll see the texture change to remove the slots on them and instead become a shelf with a single row. And this also doesn't need to be 3 shelves, since just 1 or 2 will also work. But having 3 shelves means that you can instantly swap your entire hotbar at once, which lets you set up rows of shelves with items and then just walk up and swap your items onto the shelf. And this will always work as long as the shelves remain powered. And if there are any empty slots in your hotbar or on the shelves, then it will still be swapped over in the exact same way, which means that the way that you see the items on the shelf is the same way that they will be placed into your hotbar. And that's not the only way shelves interact with redstone, since shelves can also work with hoppers, which means that you can set up some shelves with hoppers behind and then swap the items to get a refill of items in your hotbar, which can be really useful for getting a quick restock of items you use a lot, like torches or rockets. Since as long as the hoppers have enough to keep the shelf stocked, then the shelf will always be ready to instantly give you a full stack of items. But besides the practical use for shelves, they can also be used for building in lots of different ways. Maybe you want to use shelves as decoration around furnaces and chests, or maybe you want to use them as a small seating or other furniture build, because the possibilities really are just endless, with shelves being the perfect addition for both practical and decorative purposes in your world. That's a wrap for today. Don't forget to leave a like and hit subscribe while you're at it. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you next time.